about what he's heard.
I obviously understand that we are heading to the end of this very informative event, so I will try to keep it as brief as possible. Thank you also for the invitation. So what was very clear by my co-panelist was that the problem of private debt was highly intensive back in 2010, and that we didn't actually have, as the rest of the world also, we didn't have, as these countries, we didn't have any ready-made solutions. So most of the country, most of us tried through practically a manner of trial and error to find out what we should do to address this problem. Most of these countries had a different approach, as I can understand, to how the private debt issue should be addressed. So we had some very, very interesting remarks. What we must keep from this discussion is that, considering the circumstances, that we didn't have any ready-made solutions and the magnitude of the problem, these organizations, this newly created organization back in 2010, actually demonstrated a stellar performance in addressing not only a financial issue, but a social issue. Because prior to these organizations, we actually had, prior to the existence of these organizations and their policies that were implemented by these organizations, we had social unrest by debtors, by households and companies that didn't know how to address their private debt issues. And most importantly, we had the appearance of a strategic default culture that was extremely annoying. After the creations of all these organizations, these debtors had a matrix of financial solutions that they could choose from, and they could move forward. They can move forward. Nowadays, they actually can move forward. They are not stagnated. And the culture, I have to pay my debts, was substantially reinstated in our societies. So these organizations have a significant contribution, not only financial-wise, as it was very clearly stated in this panel, but in my opinion, they have a very a heavy ESG contribution to our societies and our economies. Now, as for my final remarks, in my opinion, there are, facing what is coming next to our economies, in my opinion, there are three issues that we should raise, I should raise. First of all, and I think this is the case especially for Greece, I don't think this is the case for the other countries, we should closely monitor the private debt that is created towards, it's created from obligations towards the state, mainly unpaid taxes and unpaid social insurance contributions. Secondly, as I can understand, most of these organizations seem to have an expiration date. In my humble opinion, policymakers all over Europe should be very cautious and should try to find a way to preserve all this accumulated experience after these organizations are gone, are closed, so as we will not be obliged to start all over again if a financial emergency reoccurs. And thirdly, and in my opinion, this is not only the elephant, but the actual beast in the room, how these organizations, these institutions, are going to operate in an environment that there is no more easy money, that we have high interest rates, and seemingly we're going to have an economic slowdown. How they are going to adjust their business plans and their policies to a very challenging environment, financial environment, that is formed after the pandemic crisis and the Ukrainian war. As a copestone, and I would like to expand what one of the great, in my opinion, one of the greatest economists mentioned here in Greece, with you, I think with you, Eleftherios in Economist Roundtable this July. We, all these countries, the fact that we dealt with so severe economic issues and we overcame, this gives an optimistic point of view that we somehow have developed a kind of immunity to financial storms. And so, in my opinion, and to be consistent with the title of this particular panel, private debt is an elephant, not the elephant in the room, but thanks to the operation of these organizations, it rather seems like a tamed elephant. So this is my remarks.
Thank you. Well,
Thank you.
That must be quite nice to hear.